G'day guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing a review of an action film from South Korea, Korean language English subs, released in the year 2012, directed by Ji Hoon Kim, and this movie is called The Tower. And the story to The Tower is as follows. It's Christmas Eve at the luxurious 108-story Tower Sky Twin Tower building in central Seoul. Residents and staff members busy themselves with the upcoming Christmas party that night. A small fire in the restaurant kitchen reveals a faulty sprinkler system, which is shrugged off by the building's owner. Helicopters are hired to circle the building and spray a spectacle of snow during the Christmas celebrations. The residents' amazement soon turns into terror when one of the helicopters loses control, crashing into the building, setting off a chain of horrifying events that threatens the lives of them all. So the movie is set in South Korea, the city of Seoul. It's Christmas Eve, and the workers are busying themselves in preparation for the Christmas celebrations. Now, these workers are in the Sky Towers, which is the pride and joy of this city. They're mammoth towers that overlook the whole city. So for celebration on Christmas Eve, this is going to be the center point. Therefore, all of the workers inside this building are really, working extra hard in order to make this celebration one worth remembering. So the owners of the building are telling everyone to work, 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 and so there's a lot of pressure, and this pressure is having an effect on their family lives. So anyway, the night approaches. Now this is the big spectacle because this year in South Korea there hadn't been too much snowfall. So in order to get an authentic feel, a white Christmas, they organised some helicopters to circle the towers and spray snow down. So as these celebrations are taking place, the people inside the tower are looking on in amazement at the spectacle, but that amazement turns to horror when one of the helicopters is hit by some turbulence and it causes it to crash into one of the buildings. Now, this is going to turn into a fight for survival for all of the people who are trapped above where the helicopter crashed, and whether or not they can make it out in order to see Christmas. That's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on The Tower. This movie has problems, and it's problems that I associate with a lot of Korean films, but overall I thought it was a really entertaining film. If you're a fan of massive explosions, exaggerated action pieces, then this movie is definitely going to apply to you. I thought I could overlook the bad things because it is a fun movie, and it doesn't try to be anything not. But I actually thought it was a few good inclusions there as well. I thought this movie, it's strong resemblance to the Towering Inferno. If you've seen that movie, you'll get strong similarities with this film. But I also thought it was a neat little way to pay respect to the victims of 9/11 and the firefighters of 9/11. So this movie, it does have that similar feel that 9/11 had. I remember turning on the news and I saw one of the Twin Towers was on fire, and this movie had a lot of striking similarities with that. So I think it's too much of a coincidence not to suggest that this movie maybe is paying homage to it. It's bringing back those memories, and it's showing you the courage of firefighters. And this movie was exactly the same. Everyone's running out, but these firefighters are running in without a second thought. Basically, their objective is to get as many people out alive, and it does show you the heroic antics that the fire brigade actually showed, especially on 9/11. So we've all heard the stories about bravery on that tragic day, and I thought it was really cool to see that the tower has that same sort of feel. Yes, it will bring back some bad memories because, these are two towers right next to each other, and it does resemble the Twin Towers in New York. And so it might bring back some bad memories, but overall I thought it was a nice way to pay respect to firefighters. Now, as I said, I don't know if it is a homage to the 9/11, but there is striking similarities. So when you see the film, you'll probably think to yourself, yeah, this does bear strong resemblance to that tragic day. So I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, it doesn't lose sight of what it wants to be. What it wants to be is an entertaining film, and it is exactly that. I thought the special effects were phenomenal. It looks like a lot of money has been pumped into this film, which I thought was very good. I like the characters, although they were very exaggerated and they come across as a caricature rather than a real person. I thought they were likable. There were certain instances where I didn't want them to die, so I wanted them to get through it, which was an added bonus. There isn't really anyone that you dislike, so that once again, that was another good thing about the film. I thought that there was a little bit of humour in there as well. When the really bad things are happening, I was surprised to see a little bit of humour thrown in there. And usually, when humour is put into a really serious situation, sometimes it doesn't work. But I thought this film had it down perfectly because there isn't too much humour, but there is enough there to make you laugh in the worst circumstances. So once again, I thought, I wasn't expecting that, and that's something I can appreciate as well. So it's a very good looking film. It gave me vertigo, which is everything you want from a film like this when dealing with really, tall buildings. You can see down, you can see how far it is down, and you start to think, oh, okay, well, so if a film can give you vertigo if you're afraid of heights, then it's doing its job. It's translating through the screen very well, so I like that. The script was, as I said, it was a hit and miss. Sometimes it didn't work, especially at the start, where you're introduced into the characters, which is ultimately my biggest problem with the film. But when it gets into the action sequences, I thought it was really well done. The pacing was very good, and it looked really good, and it really does have you on the edge of your seat. I thought the ending was very good. I wasn't expecting it to go down that path. There are levels of predictability in the story, but ultimately the very end I thought was really well done, and it was actually quite sad, and I wasn't expecting that also, because a film like this being action, I thought it was going to rely on the action and not have too much emotion in it, because, as I said, at the start, it doesn't give you the impression that you're going to be relying on character emotion. So at the end of it, yeah, there is a little bit of emotion. I really like that. So having said all of that, there are problems to the film, unfortunately, which is, as I said earlier, that I can associate with a lot of Korean films. It's the overdoing of, the cheesiness, the character development. It's forcing, it's just a little bit too happy at the start. And they're just jumping around, they're all bubbly, and it just feels to yourself, you're exaggerating it, you're cheesing it up. And it feels like a different film. When it kicks into the serious stuff, it feels like these are different people, that this is a serious film. But at the start, it was just so cheesy. It was just so melodramatic. There's happy music, and it feels way too, it's trying way too hard to get that happy music across, because it's showing you how happy these people are. And then when something bad's going to happen, you can see it's trying to set you up, and it's obvious it's trying to set you up. And I really didn't like that. And that is the problem with a lot of movies like this, disaster movies, especially Hyundai, which is about a tidal wave. I thought, this isn't as bad as Hyundai as far as melodrama is concerned, but they just ham up the characters to a point where you think to yourself, this is a little bit ridiculous. It's not that real. They're trying too hard to make these characters likable. It's not coming through naturally. Therefore, you just think to yourself, well, if you're trying too hard, you're forcing it. You're not letting the viewer gain a connection. You're just basically saying, these are good people, believe us, they're good. Look, we're going to put them on the screen, we're going to make them smile, we're going to make you believe and tell you that these are happy people, that they're living happy lives, and if something bad happened to them, then you're going to feel really sorry for them, instead of being subtle and letting the viewer connect and relate to these characters. So I really didn't like that. I thought there were elements to the movie where they explain things at the start of the film, like the sprinkler system goes wrong, and they say which floor it's going wrong. So straight away you know, okay, I don't know what's going to happen that's going to be bad, but I know it's going to take place in this certain area, because this is basically what they've been saying, is that their sprinkler system is faulty. Therefore, you know exactly where the fire is going to start. You know where this explosion is going to take place, because they're basically pointing it out for you. And so a lot of it seemed like it was force-feeding it. It was way too obvious, making things obvious when the audience could have just made their mind up themselves. And unfortunately, that is the problem with a lot of South Korean films, but fortunately it doesn't ruin the experience, because when it does hit into the action, I thought the action was sublime. There were a few decisions that really felt stupid from the characters, but I can forgive that, because ultimately what you get is just a really fun ride with a few surprising elements thrown in there for good measure. As I said, it felt like they were paying respects to firefighters, during the tragedy of 9/11. Some other people might not get that, but for me, I got that. A strong resemblance to the Towering Inferno, which I thought was pretty cool. So in the end, The Tower is a very entertaining disaster film, and it's one that I would recommend. So overall for The Tower, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. Not the best South Korean film going out there, but certainly not the worst. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies. See you.